We have breaking news on the Immanuel Quickley contract extension front. It has apparently been reported by Michael Scotto that the Knicks and Quickley may not be close to a deal right now, and that the Knicks want to pay Quickley significantly less than what he is asking for. And we have to break this down. We're going to go right into it. So welcome back to Knicks Digest, guys. My name is Chris, and we are wasting no time, as always. We have Immanuel Quickley contract extension talks between the Knicks, and it appears as if the sides are not in agreement on how much money Immanuel Quickley will be getting, as Quickley is looking for around $100 million, while the Knicks are looking to pay him around $80 million. This is all according to Michael Scotto. This is what he said on Troy. Yes, that Troy from Knicks Digest, everyone's favorite Troy, had to say on his podcast on the Knicks recap. He had Michael Scotto on, and that's what Scotto seemed to think. And let's just take a look at this quote. The Knicks want to offer Quickley an $80 million contract extension per NBA insider Michael A. Scotto. Scotto on IQ's contract situation with the Knicks is, I think the Knicks, they want it to be at 80, 4 for 80. I think Quick, he'd like it more, 4 for 100. Now, there's two things that could happen here. Maybe they'll meet in the middle, or one side is going to end up making some sort of a sacrifice. I think that side is going to be the New York Knicks, and the Knicks are going to pay Quickley around $92 million per year, which is basically in the middle, so I don't really think it's a huge deal. Also, we saw the way he played in the regular season, and if you want to worry about his playoff performance, that's fine, but clearly he just looked completely out of character on the offensive end. More than anything, it just looked like his shots weren't falling, because he was still playing really good defense. To take Immanuel Quickley's side, because I'm a huge fan of him and I do know him, it's really what we have to see here is this going to be a consistent thing? And the way he played defensively makes me think that this is not a consistent thing, because he was still able to funnel the Cavs on-ball guards, so both Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland, into the paint towards Mitchell Robinson, which completely would shut down the Cavs' shooting, because all their shooting came from their backcourt. And then at the same time, you're throwing people into Mitchell Robinson, while Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, two guys who are really not shooters, are just also sitting there causing a cluster in the paint, which really played into the Knicks having probably the best defense of the first round. Now, I see why people don't want to pay Immanuel Quickley $100 million because of that playoff performance and because he's not a starter. The reason he is not a starter is because he's behind Jalen Brunson, who is the best player on the New York Knicks, if you ask me. I don't think that really matters, because there's going to be times where Immanuel Quickley does start, and that is because it is depending on the lineups that are used. We saw in the beginning of the playoffs, before Quickley got hurt, though his shots weren't falling, they were still fully trusting in him, and he would be closing out games. It'd be a lineup of Brunson, Quickley, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, and either Mitchell Robinson or Isaiah Hartenstein. They clearly value Immanuel Quickley very high. He almost won Sixth Man of the Year. I thought he should have. It was a very close race between him and Malcolm Brogdon that Brogdon ultimately won. But now Brogdon is out of the Eastern Conference. He's currently on Portland. He's probably going to get moved again to some team where he'll probably start, I would guess. And that would make Quickley the front runner for the Sixth Man of the Year award, probably up there with Chris Paul, who's going to be coming off the bench at times for the Golden State Warriors. Who knows, though? The Sixth Man of the Year award is sort of like the most improved, where anything can sort of happen depending on just new lineups and new opportunities. But that's not really the point. Let's look at Immanuel Quickley's stats, because they're just really nice, especially off the bench. He averaged 15 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He got a steal per game, shot 37% from 3 and 45% from the field. These are really good numbers. To be the 4th leading scorer on a team as the 6th man is something you love to see. That's really around where you want your 6th man at. And the Knicks had, I believe, 3 guys. I know Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle both averaged well over 20 points per game. RJ was either right under it or right at 20 points per game. Regardless, when you have 3 guys averaging that many points and you can still put up 15 points per game off the bench, shows that not only are you important to the team, but you are good enough to start. And it is just because the way the Knicks are formed as a team, it makes more sense for Quickley to be the best 6th man in the NBA. He is a perfect role for a 6th man. He dominates the ball so well, and he doesn't do anything wrong. He can play defense extremely well. He's a great playmaker. He shoots the ball well outside of the playoffs. And literally, his 2 playoff years, it was against the Hawks, which was, first of all, a weird year where the Knicks were carried off Julius Randle, who was clearly exhausted. And then after that, who knows what happened last year. I don't think it's cause for concern because, as I said, his defense is still really good. Let's look at a Tommy Beer article that kind of supports my argument on why I think the Knicks should be the team to sort of budge here. And that is because, as Beer puts it, IQ's cumulative net rating over the past 3 years, plus 6.6, is by far the highest on the team. In fact, no other rotation player has a cumulative net rating north of 1.6, of plus 1.6, that is. Last season, New York outscored their opponents by 319 points with IQ on the floor, which was the second highest plus minus among all bench players in the NBA, and the highest single season plus minus ever recorded by a Knick. The other Knicks to do this are Patrick Ewing in 1996-1997, who most people would say is the best Knick of all time. For me, I'd say he's second best, but I obviously did not see him, or Clyde Frazier, who I would say is number one ever play. And Carmelo Anthony, who was at plus 308, and I would say is third best Knick in New York Knicks history. And also, this was in his best season, where he was the only thing preventing LeBron James from being the first ever unanimous MVP. On the flip side, the Knicks were outscored by 78 points with IQ on the bench last season. No other Knicks rotation regular had a negative off-court net rating. I really like how that sounds, personally. I'm a big fan of Immanuel Quickley. I really like how that sounds. I don't think the Knicks should trade Immanuel Quickley, and I think they should extend him and keep him on the team for the long haul. He has only gotten better every single year. He started his second year slow, but he picked it up. And that Tommy Beer article is literally an article that is just saying the Knicks should extend Immanuel Quickley. That is the argument. I completely agree. I don't see a point in not extending him. Like, do you want him to go to restricted free agency where some team could offer him a Tyler Johnson-esque contract where he's getting paid like $5 million over the course of the first 2 years and then like $48 million over the course of the next two just to screw with the Knicks cap space? Because in 2 years from now, Brunson and Randall will have contracts due for them. So I really do not think the Knicks should risk anything funky happening, and they should sign Quickley to an extension that works for their cap and works for IQ also. That is what I think has to happen, but I do see why people would argue no, $80 million is perfectly fine for IQ. He doesn't start, and he did not play well in the playoffs on the offensive end. He did not shoot well in the playoffs. So I don't think he should get that money. And as I said, we should look at both sides of this. So here is a Fred Katz article from The Athletic where he said, I still haven't heard an explanation as to what happened to Quickley in the 2023 playoffs, where his offense cratered after he was so consistent for months prior. Head coach Tom Thibodeau lost faith in him by the end of the second round series against the Miami Heat. He was barely part of the formula. And obviously he got injured. And that is what it is. And then he wasn't part of the formula. And that's because Tibbs is an old-fashioned coach. And it's the playoffs. If he doesn't see you performing on both sides of the ball, you might get benched. That could happen. And yeah, it sort of sucked to see. But at the end of the day, it's not like that means Immanuel Quickley can't play basketball. We've all seen what he can do. I think you're allowed to have a bad playoffs year. I think that's allowed. I'm pretty sure every single NBA player in history has not been perfect in the playoffs. People have screwed up. It happens. I do not think this is going to be some consistency with IQ. It doesn't make sense. He's clutch. It's not like he folds in big moments. That man loves big moments. He's very similar, not playstyle at all, very different playstyle-wise, but the aura is similar to a guy like J.R. Smith from back in the day, where he lights up MSG every time he does anything. He has that it factor. It's hard to describe, but just that superstar aura. And I know J.R. Smith was not a superstar. I'm not saying he was. He was the sixth man of the year for the Knicks, which is why I'm sort of comparing the two on top of having this aura where it's just you know how to light up a crowd. And I really think that it's just Quickley is going to be fine in the next few playoffs and that this was a one-off. Maybe he was injured already, or maybe he just got cold offensively. You're allowed to have a bad stretch of offense. If it came in the playoffs, oh well, that happens. You can move on. You can be fine. It's not like he's been doing this in the playoffs for 5 years. This was a one-off, and I do think the New York Knicks should pay Quickley around 4 years, $90 million, maybe 92, 93, because they cannot risk him going to restricted free agency and either somehow losing him, which I don't even think would be possible. They would match anything, or having to pay some weird contract or some vastly overpaid contract. What if a team with financial space decides, hey, we're going to throw 1 or 4 years, $140 or $120 million at Immanuel Quickley, and make the Knicks either re-sign this or we're just overpaying a young guy, hoping he turns out. So that's really all that we have to talk about on this topic. I am on team re-sign Quickley and basically do whatever it takes within reason. I know some of you will be against us. Let me know in the comments how you feel about this. Let me know if you think that Quickley should stick around for the long haul, if you think he's that important to the team. And if you don't, let me know also why. Also, if you want more breaking news, this channel just released a Zion Williamson video with Troy talking about a potential Zion Williamson departure from the New Orleans Pelicans, who do not fully trust him. And they also have talked about the Knicks in this, because the Knicks would obviously be interested, and there is a chance that maybe if Leon Rose does not make a move, he could end up on the hot seat. So check that out, guys. Please do so. Please like this video. Subscribe to the channel. We are sending this thing to the moon. Once the season starts, things are only going to go up from here, and it's going to be here before we know it. So make sure to be tuned in. And with that, I bid you adieu. Have a great day, and remember, go Knicks, guys.